Hi, welcome. Let's discuss about basic LLM API call. This is the foundation layer. In this video, you will learn how to connect your Python backend to an AI model using three different options: Anthropic, OpenAI, and Ollama. Everything else in this series builds on what you learned here. So, what is it? Your Python code sends a plain text message, called a prompt, to an AI company's server. The model reads it, generates a response, and sends it back. One message out, one answer back. That is the entire concept. Think of it like texting a genius friend who knows everything and never sleeps. You ask a question, they reply. The API is just the phone network in between. The main tools you need are the Anthropic library for Claude, the OpenAI library for GPT-4o, or Ollama for free local models with no internet connection required. You also need FastAPI to expose the call as a web endpoint and Pydantic to validate the shape of incoming requests. Next, workflow. There are 6 steps in this workflow. Step 1, you write a prompt, which is just a plain text message. Step 2, you call the provider library with a single method. Step 3, that method sends a secure request to the AI company's servers. Step 4, the model generates tokens, which is the AI doing its thinking. Step 5, a response comes back as a data object containing the generated text. Step 6, you return that text to whoever called your function, or you stream it back word by word. One important rule before writing your first call: always set the maximum tokens parameter. Without it, you can be billed for the longest possible output on every single call, even when you only needed a short answer. Next, key concepts. There are 3 things to understand here. First, writing a prompt. A prompt is just a plain text instruction, something like summarize this paragraph or extract all dates from this contract. Just write what you want. Second, calling the library. You pass in the model name, the maximum tokens limit, and your messages list into one method call. The library handles authentication, the web request, and error handling for you automatically. Third, reading the response. Each provider puts the text in a slightly different location. For Anthropic, you read it from the content list at the first position, then the text property. For OpenAI, you read it from the choices list at the first position, then the message object, then the content property. For Ollama, you read it from the message key and then the content key. Next, project setup. This setup is the same regardless of which provider you choose. Create a project folder and navigate into it. Then create a virtual environment and activate it. On Windows, the activation command is inside the ven folder under scripts. On Mac and Linux, you run source followed by the ven folder path and activate. Once activated, you will see the venv label appear at the start of your terminal prompt. Then install the shared dependencies: FastAPI, Uvicorn, Pydantic, and python.env. Your project should have 5 items: the virtual environment folder, a .env file for your API key, a gitignore file, your main Python file, and a requirements file. Add the virtual environment folder and the .env file to your gitignore so they are never pushed to version control. Next, creating API key. Option A, Anthropic. This option uses Claude, which is Anthropic's model. It requires a paid API key with a minimum of $5 in credits. Install the Anthropic library using pip. Create a .env file and add your API key to it. You can get the key from the Anthropic console website. In your main Python file, import the load.env function and call it before creating the Anthropic client. The client automatically reads the key from the environment for you. Define a Pydantic model for the request body with a message field. In your post route, call the messages create method, passing in the model name, the maximum tokens value, and the messages list. Return the text from the first item in the content list. To do a quick test without starting the server, add a simple call in the main block at the bottom of your file and run it directly with Python. Next, option B, OpenAI. This option uses GPT-4o from OpenAI. It also requires a paid API key, though new accounts receive free trial credits. Install the OpenAI library using pip. Create a .env file with your OpenAI API key which you get from the OpenAI platform website. The code structure is almost identical to option A. There are only two differences. You import and create an OpenAI client instead of Anthropic, and you call the chat completions create method instead of messages create. The response text is found in the choices list at the first position, then the message object, then the content property. Use the GPT-4o Mini model name when learning. It produces good quality responses and costs significantly less than the full GPT-4o model. Next, option C, Ollama. This option runs a language model entirely on your own machine. It is completely free and requires no API key. Download the Ollama installer from the Ollama website and run it. On Windows, it starts automatically as a background service after installation, so you do not need to start it manually. After installing, run the Ollama pull command with Llama 3.2 to download the model. This download is around 2 gigabytes. If that feels too large, use the 1 billion parameter version instead by adding a colon and 1b after the model name. That version is around 700 megabytes. Install the Ollama Python library using pip. In your main Python file, import Ollama and call the chat method, passing in the model name and messages list. Read the result from the message key and then the content key. No .env file is needed at all. To confirm everything is working, open your browser and go to localhost on port 11,434. You should see the text, Ollama is running. Next, how to run and test? This step is the same for all three options. Start your FastAPI server by running uvicorn with your module name, the app object, and the reload flag so changes take effect automatically. The server starts at localhost on port 8000. To do a quick check without the server, just run the Python file directly. You should see a response printed in your terminal. To test the running server, you have three options. First, open your browser at localhost port 8000/docs for the auto-generated interactive documentation, where you can try the endpoint directly. Second, use curl from a second terminal, posting a JSON body with a message field to the ask endpoint. Third, write a short Python script using the requests library that posts the same JSON and prints the answer from the response. The expected response is a JSON object with a single answer key containing the model's reply. If port 8000 is already in use, add a port flag with a different number when starting the server. Next, let us compare. Here is how the three options compare side by side. Option A is Anthropic with Claude. It requires at least $5 in credits to start. You install the Anthropic library, store your key in a .env file, and read the text from the content list. It generally produces the highest quality responses of the three. Option B is OpenAI with GPT-4o. New accounts get free trial credits. You install the OpenAI library, store your key in a .env file, and read from the choices list. It has the most tutorials and community documentation available online. Option C is Ollama running locally. It is completely free and works offline. You install the Ollama library with no API key required and read from the message and content keys. The trade-off is that local models are generally less capable than the hosted cloud options. The recommendation is to start with Ollama to learn for free, then switch to Anthropic or OpenAI when you are ready to build real projects. Next, let's see common errors. Here are 7 errors you might encounter and how to fix each one. Authentication error with an invalid API key. Check that your .env file exists in the same folder you are running from, and confirm that load.env is called before you create the client. Credit balance too low, which shows as a 400 status error. Add credits to your Anthropic account under the billing section. The minimum is $5. Alternatively, switch to Ollama, which is free. Module not found error. Your virtual environment is not active. Run the activate command again and retry. Ollama command not recognized. Ollama is not installed yet. Download it from the Ollama website, run the installer, then close and reopen your terminal before trying again. Model not found error from Ollama. The model has not been downloaded yet. Run Ollama pull, followed by the model name, and wait for the download to finish. Bind error about the socket address already in use. This means Ollama is already running in the background, which is exactly what you want. Skip the serve command entirely and go straight to starting your server. 422 error from FastAPI. Your request body is missing the required message field. Make sure you are sending a JSON object with a message key and a string value, not a plain string on its own. Next, key takeaways. 5 things to remember from this video. 1. All 3 providers, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Ollama, use exactly the same FastAPI and Pydantic structure. The overall shape of your code does not change between them. 2. Only 3 things differ between providers: the import statement, the way you create the client, and which property you read the response text from. 3. Never write your API key directly into your source code. Always use an environment variable loaded from a .env file, and always add that file to your git ignore. 4. Use Ollama with the smaller 1 billion parameter version of Llama 3.2 to learn for free with no internet connection and no billing required. 5. Your endpoint address, your request shape, and your response shape stay identical, regardless of which language model is running behind the scenes. Switching providers means changing 3 lines of code. Next is streaming, where you will add token-by-token output to this same endpoint so responses appear word by word instead of all at once.